Yo, what up? It's your man Danger Dan. And I return. Drop you another line. Today, I have a question, but it's a bit rhetorical. That question is one that I struggle with often. I always think about it, try to come up with an answer. The answer always changes, even though the question stays the same. And because the answer always changes, I haven't actually found the right one. That question being, what moves you? Motivates you? What is motivation to you? What is motivation, period? Now, in my experience, that is life. I have often started things and not finished them. Pretty often. A lot of that is because of my personality and my tendencies of being lazy and just procrastinating and always putting things off till the next day. And of course, that day doesn't ever come, which is typical. But it's a bit more than that. So having depression makes a lot of things a lot more difficult than they should be. Staying motivated is being one of those things, the things that I have committed to have always been things that are extremely time consuming, in the way that you have to dedicate years to this craft or this activity in order for you to really get a return on it. And it's one of those things that starts off extremely difficult, and it doesn't really get easier. But at some point, you do get a return on your investment. One of those things is working out. So I have taken 2 fitness journeys in life. Didn't finish either of them. Thought I was going to finish both of them, but the motivation that I had in order to go in that direction, it was only temporary. It was 2 instances where I had really hit rock bottom, and the solution that I came to was to work out, which is an adequate solution. Honestly, fitness it's really good for you. It's very cruel, but it's really good for you. So I began both these journeys. One was about 5 years ago, and the second was about 2 years ago. Now, my motivation at the time, like I said, it was adequate, but it wasn't permanent. It wasn't something that I could keep using, because eventually it just got old. I wanted to get myself in shape. I wanted to strengthen my mind as well as my body, and I wanted to dedicate myself to something that would make me better as a person, and something to prove to myself that I can commit and put myself into situations where I have to give my all and then some, instead of just being lazy and doing things that are easy and just coasting through. So because of that, I had a pretty good grip on the fact that motivation is something that motivation is a lot like a meter. It starts off probably at 0 and you build it up to 100, or it starts off at 100 and it slowly whittles down to that 0. Now, when you are someone similar to myself who deals with depression, and then you couple that with anxiety that is suffocating, that's when motivation starts to get real murky, right? Because I don't know how it is for you. For me, my mood is always just bad, honestly. Like, I'm always in a bad mood. Not angry, just not happy. I'm always in a bad mood. And because of that, I find it very difficult to talk myself up to doing things, to finding a reason to really give something my all for more than just a day or a week or a month. You know what I mean? Fitness being one of those things. Honestly, working out is probably the only thing that mattered, that I really tried to do, that I wasn't able to see through all the way. Because again, my mood, coupled with the fact that it takes a lot for me to get up towards motivation, it's a really, really dastardly combination. Because you can be okay for a couple days, but unfortunately, it's basically guaranteed, in my case anyway, that on that fourth day, after 3 days of being okay, you're not going to be okay. Your energy is going to be completely gone. Your mind is going to be in shambles because you're only going to be thinking about all of the negativity, because there is apparently an endless amount of it. There's no shortage of bad feelings. There's no shortage of there's no shortage of self-doubt. Constantly telling yourself that you can't do something, and it's not even just that. You tell yourself you can't do things, or you run out of the most important thing that is needed to get anything done, and that's patience. When you are always climbing the walls in your mind, and you're constantly just like scratching away at that wall that doesn't get any thinner, then there's no way in hell you can every single day tell yourself, oh, I got to do this, and I got to get this done, and I got to maintain this level of energy in order to get this done, and I got to maintain this amount of mental focus to get this done, because focus is another crucial part, right? And me being me, that's basically impossible. It's basically impossible. Now, the reason that I wonder about this motivation in the first place is because, as you might have noticed, I have committed to something that requires more than the effort that I possess. It's those requiring everything you have and then some moments, right? This being that. So I'm attempting to start YouTube. And this is something that, like working out, takes years of dedication before you see anything come from it. Unless, well, actually, no, I don't think there are any exceptions to the rule, if I'm being honest, because you may think there are, because you might see some people at a certain point, and in most cases, especially me that I'm guilty of, you see the end result, but you don't see the work. And because you don't see the work, you ignore it, and your only focus is on that finished product. You don't see the blood, the sweat, and the tears that went into that. And because you don't see it, you don't care about it. And if you're anything like me, it is a very difficult thing to fight against that urge to compare yourself to other people. Being as silly as just starting to learn how to dribble a ball, and just starting to learn how to properly place your feet and your elbows to shoot a jump shot, you comparing yourself to Michael Jordan. It gets that intense. It gets that severe. You do these things. Let me not say you. I don't know if you do it. I do these things without trying. I don't ever think to myself, oh, I need to compare myself to the next man, right? The thing about comparing yourself is that it's really pointless, because the minute you start comparing yourself to other people is the exact minute you take the value away from everything that you're doing. Even if it's a natural human process to consider what others in your field are doing or those who are way ahead of you are doing. It's only natural. But regardless of how natural that may be, it's still detrimental to you. And someone else's motivation can't be yours, because then it truly becomes pointless, because then you're not you anymore, you're someone else. So me with motivation is tough. A lot of days I wake up and I'm feeling like really, really bad, not for any reason in particular, just, my depression is so severe that I legitimately have to fight it every minute of every day. And because of that, my motivation is constantly fleeting, because it's only ever when things get honestly, it's only when things get really bad for me that I'm able to get up and move towards change, and I don't want that to continue to be the case. But for a long time, that has been the case. And that is why I always find myself talking to people who don't have depression, people who are able to function at least well enough to not constantly be in despair, or at least people that hide it really well, which I don't know if that's me. I don't really have to hide it. Like I mentioned before, I don't have any friends. I don't really leave my house unless it's to go to work. So I don't have to deal with people that are outside of my work building, or the random encounters with strangers that occur often when you live in New York City. But I often talk to people who I know are highly motivated and are hard workers, and I always try to pick their brains and just be like, yo, what is it that helps you, and what is it that pushes you to give your all every single day, even when you don't see that return immediately? That I mentioned before, that patience and anxiety do not mix at all. I honestly think they are two completely opposite sides of the spectrum, the growth spectrum in particular. You can't grow and you can't move forward without patience, right? But it's difficult to be patient when you have anxiety that goes through the roof, breaks through a couple clouds, and replaces the moon and the sun. It's something that you have to have gone through, something that you have to yourself be living with to understand. Because if it's something that you only feel, or something that you think about sometimes and you don't understand what I'm saying, I'm not speaking your language. You probably shouldn't even have watched the video this far. But if this is something that you comprehend, then as I mentioned from time to time, I want you to know you have a kindred spirit in me, because I deal with this shit every single day. I do not get any breaks from it. It's really just fucking pain. As I was saying, it's very difficult to practice patience when your anxiety really has you by the balls with an entire arm up your ass, pumping your heart for you, because it wants you to stay alive, because even though you don't want to be, it wants you to stay alive. So it's going to keep you alive. Now, as I mentioned before, I often ask people that I know, the few, but I often ask people that I know, what is it that helps you stay motivated? Because I know that motivation for me at most will last maybe 6 months, and then I'll fizzle out and my depression will once again take full hold, even though I don't want it to. And next thing you know, I'm back to doing nothing because I don't believe that I can do anything. And then the fear sets in, and ultimately nothing gets done but me just feeling sorry for myself. But anyway, I asked them, how do you do it? And the question, the answer always changes from person to person. Of course, everybody's motivation is different. Everybody's drive is different. What moves one man won't move the next woman. But the one thing that is constant, the one common answer, is material things, honestly. And that's really what it is. people will say, oh, I want things. There are things in life that I want. So, I got to work to get them, or I got to do this to get them type shit, Or you got people who actually want to be famous. I couldn't imagine that for myself, but you got people who actually want to be famous, and that's the reason why they try to make music or try to make YouTube videos, or maybe try to become actors. People who don't want to work regular jobs, because honestly, regular jobs are fucking whack. They are just terrible. 9-to-5s are a trap. That is something that is extremely important to know at a young age. 9-to-5s are a trap. Find something to dedicate yourself to, even if someone else has to find it for you. It's better than just walking blind, because that's what I'm doing. I'm walking blindly in this life, because it's so difficult for me to get motivation, because it's so tough for me to pull my head out my ass when I'm feeling really, really low, which is often. Then I haven't really gotten much done in my life, and I'm attempting to do this YouTube shit, but I'm not honestly expecting anything to come from this. If this makes me feel better as a person, then it has served its purpose, to be honest. Because my only goal in life is to be happy and to find happiness, because it has eluded me for the last 27. But anyway, that's me rambling. Sorry, I do all of this off the cuff. I only write down the topic. I don't write down the lines, because I do my best work on my feet. But yeah, are you someone who struggles with that? Like, are you someone who struggles with the balance between motivation and anxiety, motivation and depression? I got a lot of opinions on depression. I'll probably divulge those as time goes, maybe. But really, I wanted to, I really wanted to talk about this topic here and see if there's other people who can relate. I haven't made it to the point of relevance yet, but I believe it's possible. At least on my good days, I believe it's possible, and that's those are rare. But yeah, that's that. My question remains the same. What is it that motivates you, and what is motivation to you? What is motivation? Are you the type of person that's like me, that deals with depression and anxiety, and motivation is fleeting and far in between? Or are you some super motivated, positive person who just, I don't know, sees all the good things in life and lives on a rainbow and fucking wipes their asses with rose petals? If that's you, then congrats. You don't have too much to worry about. But I don't really know anybody like that. I've known people like that, but I haven't really gotten along with them. But I don't know anybody like that currently in my life. So if that's you, then yeah, kudos. But if not, and if you're similar to me, then what I'm saying probably hits home with you in a lot of ways. You might be the kind of person who really, really wants to do things, and I mean really wants to do things, but your mind and your soul, your spirit really tell you that you can't, because your mind is just a maze, a prison, if you will, that you can't escape from. No matter how hard you try, no matter how much wandering around you do, you always come back to the same spots. So how could you possibly find motivation for yourself when you can't even find a reason to get up in the morning? When you can't even tell yourself something positive, like, oh, I look good today. Something a bit more meaningful, like, oh, I completed an entire week at the gym. I went to the gym 5 days this week. I worked out for an hour at a time. I feel really good. Awesome. Or I trained every day this week in whatever fighting game you may like, and I actually got my rank up, or I got some more points, or I got more wins this week than I got last week type shit. That sort of thing. Whatever it is that really pushes you, whatever it is that you consider to be worth your time or effort. How do you stay motivated for those things? Like, how do you fight negativity? How do you fight pessimism? How do you fight the dark? I don't really have answers for you. for what I do, because I don't really do much. I kind of just struggle. I kind of just take it day by day because that's all I can do. I struggle a lot with memories from the past, and I struggle a lot with thinking about all the times I failed, which have been countless times. But I am still, for some reason, attempting to better my life and myself. And I guess I'll continue to do that until I enter the great unknown. But until then, there's a lot of work to do. And if you're someone who has trouble staying motivated, tell me about it. Because it won't always be the way it is. At some point, things do get better. I've experienced it. It was a long time ago, but I've experienced it, So, if you watch this up to this point, keep fighting. The point might not be obvious right now, but you're still alive for a reason. Because if you weren't supposed to be, you'd be dead. And no matter how deep despair gets, there is still hope. There's still a ray of it. It might be hard to see, but it is there. I promise you it's there. With all that being said, we reached the end of the line. But until we reach the end of time, never forget, it's a dangerous world out there. But so are you.